So before I invite the first speaker, let me take this opportunity to share a little bit about him. So he is really an amazing person. He has got an inspiring story. He, like us all, like me and other people's, like he was doing his 9 to 5 job. He has done his degree, and then with hard work and dedications and surrounding himself with amazing group of investors and people taking right knowledge, he has now managed to build a 7-figure property portfolio in pandemic as well. And I always look forward to him and see how he has managed to achieve these things. He has recently also been nominated in 2 different categories in 2021 Property Investors Award. So without any further ado, I would like to invite you, Alfred, to this virtual platform.
So saying thank you guys for bringing me on here. Appreciate you guys thinking of me to bring me onto this platform. So I appreciate that. So yeah, if we can move on to the next slide. So I'm going to take you guys through a pack just to share my journey investing in property. And I always start with this one slide, which is quite important to me. And I think is a fundamental thing I look at or kind of go to all the time. And it's if it's important to you, find a way. If it's not, you'll find an excuse by Ryan Blair. I think it's very, very powerful in times of hard places. That's where you got to remember. If it's important, you find a way. If it's not, you just find an excuse with it. So if we can move on to the next slide, please. So just to kind of reiterate what Kashal said. So my background, I'm an aerospace engineering graduate, did a master's in that. Coming out of that, I managed to secure a contract and role at Jaguar Land Rover, which I was a project manager at that company. For just under 5 years, I was managing projects anywhere between 5 million to about 200 million. In parallel, I guess I always aspire to always want more, do more in life. So I looked at getting involved into property, invested quite heavily into that. So I'll go into a bit about that. But pretty much full-time property investor, developer based in the West Midlands. So how did I become a property investor? So like I was saying, coming out of uni, getting a job literally after my exams, my last exams, a month later, I managed to secure a contracting job at Jaguar Land Rover. It was about a year into working, so it was great salary, good lifestyle, good everything. It was all amazing. But for some strange reason, I hadn't looked at what's my earning potential at that role. I kind of had done this degree thinking, yeah, I could go out and go into industry and basically get a good paycheck. It's only when I wanted to start to see, okay, how do I climb the ladder in terms of getting to 6 figures? And then finding out that you have to kind of spend the next 5 to 10 years building up your experience. And for me seeing that, I just feel like that's a very long time to kind of hit 6-figure salary in that role as a senior project manager. And I thought, what other avenues could I look to kind of accelerate this? I'm not waiting 5 years to 10 years to get to that goal, because I feel like 10 years you should be making, in my opinion, you should be earning a lot more than that. So I've always aspired to be wealthy young and create wealth from a young age. So it's just something I've kind of looked to achieve. So kind of reverted back to uni. I always used to see property as in my mind, I had this vision of, I would go into the corporate world. I would then look to buy property as a kind of form of a vehicle, a retirement vehicle over a time period. So maybe like one a year, as and when I'm able to save enough money, then literally inject that money into a property. And I kind of thought, okay, let's kind of bring that forward and see what we can do, learn about the subject. What is it about? So I went down the route of education. So literally a friend of mine actually, who I spoke to about how work was, how they find in year one of working, they all said the same thing. It's great, but this can't be life. I think being young, I don't know, I didn't really think much of what a working lifestyle would look like. So going into that space, I was like, this is great. But there's surely more to life than this. And we all agreed. And literally my friend of mine said, look, there's this free seminar on a weekend. Let's go check it out, see what it's about. I went there, like the person that was speaking in front of the room, I resonated really, really well with what they were saying. I booked on myself onto this 3-day course to talk more about property investment in more detail. And there was an investment package to kind of learn more as a form of mentorship, educational courses as well. So I invested £25,000 into my education, into getting mentorship in that space. Again, a very scary thing at the time, because literally I was emptying my bank account. But I truly believe that, look, at the end of the day, 25 grand, yes, it's a decent amount of money, but over my lifespan, it's not a lot of money. It's very little money, if anything. I'm going to spend money on holiday. I'm going to spend 25 grand buying food, holidays, going out, having a good time, which don't really bring any real value. Let's be honest. So if I can kind of look at pulling that money forward and spend the money today with the potential to earn more, to increase my earning capability, why would I not? I have nothing to, even if I lost, if it didn't work out, in my mind, I said, well, I'm going to make that money back either way, by form of working in a corporation world, either way. So that's how I kind of sold myself that, you know what, this isn't the worst thing I could do. I'm sure there's worse things we could all do. So for me, I got myself over that. It's still Friday at the time, but I had the self-belief that the information I was hearing and what I was hearing, I believed I can take that information away and go and implement it. So for me, in a sense, I backed myself and just said, you know, I'm going to go and do it and see what happens. I know at the time when I was doing it, everyone was like, why the hell would you spend 25 grand on a course? What's that a course about? Are you sure? Is it a scam? All the stuff. All his parents getting nervous, like, why would you do that? Because I didn't really consult with anybody. I sat in the room, I looked at a bank account, I said, I have the money to do it. Like, I didn't speak to anybody about it, didn't really think too hard about it. I didn't go to any other places to see, oh, is this worth it? Or I just literally, I heard what he said, it resonated, and that was it. I just went with it. And for me, it worked out. I am where I am because of the decision I made. So moving away from that, obviously one of the courses with that company, I learned a few strategies within property investment. For me, I became very, very clear on what strategy best supports my property investment goals. And I think this is very, very important when starting out on this journey. If you're looking to get involved in property, you need to understand to yourself, like, what is it you're setting out to achieve? Like, what do you want to get out of this property investment vehicle? Are you after ownership? Are you after income? Also, what income level are you looking for? For me, it was about earning a high cash flow asset. So I wanted to own the property. So it eliminated quite a lot of strategies where maybe you're leasing or you're doing like a rent to rent model. I wanted to kind of buy and own. And the only strategy that felt within that strategy, it was within my goal set, was the houses of multiple application, which is HMOs, very short, because it produced, again, enough income, which was relative to what I was earning at the time. Doing a simple buy to let gets you there as well, but I'd have to have bought a lot more properties to get to the income goal that I needed. So for me, the way to kind of fast track that, well, not really a fast track, but a quicker way, I guess, for me, was the HMO route and invested in a high cash flowing asset. So that's what I wanted to now, in effect, specialize in and become an expert in that space. So literally all my networking, all my conversations, ideally all I wanted to do is speak to people who are doing the things I wanted to do. There was no point speaking to someone about doing rent to rent or service accommodation or buy to lets when it has no relation to what I want to do in the HMO world. So I really wanted to kind of surround myself with people who are ahead of me. Again, not necessarily even too far ahead, because I think when someone's too far ahead, I don't know, you want to ideally find someone who's 1 or 2 steps ahead of you to kind of, in effect, play catch up or bounce ideas off. They're not too far gone, and maybe they're in a different mindset space as well. So I just had a close network of people who are pretty much either on the same level, just above me, some doing a lot more as well, just to kind of see what's possible. Because again, for me, seeing is believing. I need to kind of be able to see something. And once I see it and I can relate to the person as well, then I'm like, okay, I'm all in. This makes sense. We are no different. If you've done it, I can do it kind of mentality. And that was my approach. So then I went on to kind of building a team. So when you get into property investment, you get told you need a power team. So again, I'm grateful for my job because for me, I leveraged that experience into my property business in the sense of, so I was a project manager. I would work with when we're delivering engines for the vehicles, we're working with anywhere between 300 engineers. So we're, as a company, Jaguar Land Rover is obviously looking to employ the best engineers. We're the project managers who are ensuring that the engineers are delivering to our targets, our set requirements, making sure things are progressing. So similarly, I'm looking to employ the best within my property business. Price is not really a concern in the sense, if I'm getting the value, I'm paying for the value, I'm paying for the ease, I'm paying for the speciality, I'm paying for the solution-oriented person. So that's what I wanted to kind of implement. And again, as well, in work, you kind of, being such a wide range of people, you can kind of tell, you start to learn people's habits, people's ability to do things. And some people need some pushing, some people you kind of literally set a task and they'll run with it. So similar principle, when I was looking to build teams and stuff, I was looking for solution-oriented people, people that can go the extra mile. Anyone I bring on board my team needs to be someone who's solution-oriented. If you're not solution-oriented, I don't want to work with you. I don't want to speak to you because I'm now in effect going to be doing your job and I'm hiring you for the purpose of me not having to do your job, if that makes sense. So I want to hire the best in the field. Price is not a factor really. As long as you're delivering the value, I believe you can add to me. And then regards actually building a portfolio, again, most people's hurdles are, well, property is not cheap, it's expensive, you need money to do it. And of course you need money, but you can leverage other people. And in my case, I was working at a company where people had, in essence, some savings around them, pension funds. There were people who are quite old, quite old generation of people at a company. And they were always during like breaks and stuff or during work hours talking about their pension pots. They can't wait to retire. So when starting out, I leveraged the people around me, the people closest to me, people that I've worked with for a while now, who've got to know me personally, who know my work ethic, and kind of position myself as somebody who is seeking funds for projects. And they all knew, like during work, again, obviously not to say you kind of probably could just be saying these things because obviously depending on your work scenario, I was very vocal at work. I was fortunate in the sense I could speak about what I would do outside of work. I wasn't just kind of keeping it to myself. Like when I went on courses, I would document it on my social media platform, on my Facebook, Instagram, saying I'm on a course this weekend, learning about X creative finance, for example. So people got to know very quickly, like, okay, Alfred is serious about doing property development. He's going to networking meetings after work in the evening. He's having investor calls. So everybody knew what I was up to. So it wasn't strange. Like they knew. And in essence, me putting myself out there and being seen as this person who's trying to make this thing happen at the time, people saw that I work and admired that. And when I then had an opportunity for them to get involved, they were happy to back me, just for the principle that they know me, they've seen what I'm like at work, and they're just saying, okay, if he's like this at work, and he's even more passionate about this outside of work, then I'm sure Alpha's good for it. And in essence, they supported me to get my first deal over the line, and then yeah, we moved on from there. So if we go on, so next slide. Okay, so what am I doing in property? So in essence, in the property investment world, what I'm literally doing touches on a few bits. So currently I'm focused on building a portfolio of HMOs for cash flow. That was my first objective, looking at literally building a high cash flowing asset. In terms of the properties that I'm looking for, I am literally looking to buy residential homes, which we can convert to multiple units. These units are anywhere between 6 to 8 bedrooms within this one building. Again, creatively using the space, adding floor space, doing rear extensions, loft conversions. I want to try and add as much value as possible. So generally speaking, these type of properties I'll look for are 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom properties. So usually the bedrooms would probably be on the first floor. 3 of them will be on the first floor. The 4th one might be in the loft space already. And then downstairs, there'll be 2 reception rooms with some sort of communal space on the back end. And also as well, I also look for like large gardens as well, because I know if I've got a large garden, there's opportunity to extend and not necessarily lose the amenity space within the garden, because you do need to have some sort of amenity space in the garden to support the number of people within that house. Also, I'm a very strong believer on, if you're trying to add value to property, in my opinion, the safest and most creative way you can do it is by adding floor space, simply because when someone comes, a valuer comes out to look at the property and they say, what have you done to this property? They want to see a clear differentiation between your property and next door. If you've, in effect, just done a cosmetic refurb, and what I mean by this is like paints, new carpet, new kitchen, new bathroom, they can appreciate, okay, you've made it more up to date, but they could say the ceiling price on that road is X amount, and we don't believe there's any value add in the exercise you've done. So to kind of, in my opinion, to kind of have a fighting chance, if you can clearly demonstrate you've added floor space, i.e. doing a loft conversion, doing a rear extension, a wraparound, whatever it is where you're adding floor space, when they look to compare it to next door, there's no way that they can say next door is the same, because you can clearly show that I've added 30 meters squared in floor space to this building, whereas next door doesn't have that. So in terms of the floor print, I've added more value, and therefore there's an increase in the property price. So I try and always look to try and add some sort of floor space to add the value. In terms of my focus areas in property investment, so as I said before, I'm very big on leveraging the team. So I want to find the best people, employ the best people, work with the best people to allow me to focus on raising finance and finding new deals. I don't really want to focus anywhere else in the strategy. So I've got a management agent, I've got brokers that help me find the lending where needed. I've got a construction company that do the builds, that deliver on the projects that I need them to deliver on. I've got an architect. So these are all part of our power team, my solicitor as well. They all know each other, even from the building control to asset managers, the banks, they literally all know each other. So keeping a close circle, again, just to kind of make things more efficient, more fluid, cut out, they don't need to speak to me. They all have each other's numbers. They can literally directly speak to each other. And I don't necessarily need to get involved. So that's how I like to run things, so to allow me to focus my energy and where I think I'm more value to finding new deals, to keep the pipeline flowing, to keep everybody occupied, and also obviously raising enough capital to support the deals that I'm doing. So yeah, that's what I'm currently doing in property. So I want to kind of show you an example of a project that I did in the past. So this was a 5-bedroom. It was an old HMO property, which a retiring landlord was looking to exit the market. I then saw the opportunity to potentially add an extra room in the loft space. So we did a loft conversion as part of this property. And we also did a rear extension on this property to add more communal space to this property. I acquired this property at £225,000. The refurbishment costs us 8 to 8,000. The end valuation on bricks and mortar was 360K at the time. In terms of rental, this property brought in 3,400 per calendar month. Net rental on this property was 1,480. So again, very, very good cash flow in assets. In terms of HMOs, we're generally looking upwards of £1,000 income you can achieve on this. So if we move on to next. So this is just an illustration to kind of show you what the building looked like when I acquired it. Some people could argue this building just needs some sort of update in obviously color scheme, new carpets, new decoration, and you're probably good to go. But again, another principle of mine is, because I plan to hold this long term, I have no intention of selling this anytime soon. I want to know what's in there in terms of the functionality, because people are going to live in this house, and 6 people live in this house. When things go wrong, they very quickly want to get problems resolved. So for me, this is a great opportunity for me to go back to brick, start all over again, to create the rooms that I want, the sizes I want, put the en-suites in the rooms as well, and also do a loft conversion. So I literally gutted everything out to start again, to allow me to kind of know that, okay, I know this is new plumbing, new kitchen, new electrics, everything in there is brand new. I know who installed it. So any issues, I know who I'm calling to come in as part of the team to rectify any issues. There's another slide showing the during stage to kind of show you how the property looks exposed and what we kind of did to get the value add. As you can see on towards the bottom center, we did a rear extension to match the next door's extension they had done on the property as well. All of this as well, by the way, didn't necessarily need to go through planning. It was all under permitted development. So permitted development rights is something that allows you to do certain alterations to property without having to speak to the council. So I use that to advantage to be able to get these all extensions and loft conversions into this property. And if we go on to show you the final product of the property. So with this, you can see I've gone for a very high-end finish. Again, another philosophy of mine, I'm looking to target the young professional market or student market, and I want to attract a higher rent in the area, or as high as possible in rent. So it's not fairly common to kind of hit that 3,400 per calendar month. You could hit the 2008, generally speaking, 2007 on an average property, but I want to try and push the boundaries a bit to try and provide a good looking property to allow people to want to pay the higher rate, which for me obviously helps me in terms of the income I produce from this asset, the single building. If we move on, I've got another project I want to talk you guys through. This is a larger project that we did. This was a 4-bedroom house, which we converted into an 8-bedroom HMO. This one, we had to go through planning. The way I structured this deal is I gave the vendor the price they wanted in effect, and my terms. So in effect, it was their price, my terms. So their price was they wanted 310 on the property. I think they even said they wanted 315, and I said, look, 310 is what we can kind of do on this. They agreed to that. We agreed, subject to me getting the planning gain, I'll give them the 310, because initially I wanted to pay 300, and they wanted 315. So in effect, I said, okay, you know, I'll give you 310. I'm not take too much off the number you're wanting. 310, and you allow me to go through planning. Once I get the planning gain, I'll also complete on the purchase. And then obviously at that point, they've been paid out. I can get off my refurb. Refurb wise, we spent 120,000. So a bigger refurb than the previous, which was 88,000. This again, differently from valuation point of view, it being such a large property, we could value it on a commercial basis, meaning you can value it based on the rental income it produces. So this property generates £5,000 a month with a net cash flow of £2,000, circa £2,000 from this one property. Again, another amazing property, a part of the portfolio, which generates a large amount of income, and you'll see why in a sec. So if we check the pictures, again, you can kind of see a theme. Like, these properties aren't like the worst looking properties. They're not falling down. They're just generally tired and need updating. So same principle applies. We wanted to go back to brick, start again. And you can see how we're looking at generating the higher rents as well for the property. Everything's very high end, luxury, king size beds in the rooms. Again, not many properties offer king size beds, but with the larger rooms, I can generate that income from that rental. When the fact that I'm offering them a king size bed, a very comfortable bed as well, spacious room. They've got a kitchenette facility within the room. So all these things add to being able to achieve the rents that I achieve. Generally speaking, is people don't achieve those rents because nobody goes to this level of interior design, standard, or finish. But for me, these are principles, these are core principles of the business. I want to create a product where people walk in and are wanting to kind of not lose a chance to rent a room in this property, and are happy to kind of pay a deposit on the spot, literally, subject to checks coming back okay and reference checks coming back okay. So yeah, as you can see, that's it. Top tips to succeed in property. I want to quickly share some few points in terms of anybody interested in getting into this space. There's a lot of challenges in property development for sure. I come across loads. For example, the first project I showed you, luckily I was buying the Victorian houses, so we had good ceiling heights. We had an architect who had estimated the loft space, and from the external of the property, he had estimated the loft space. Upon going in there, we realized the space in there isn't enough to have a room in there. Head height wasn't enough. Luckily, the property being a Victorian property, we had an opportunity to drop the ceiling to get the head height we needed within the loft space to allow us to create that room. Again, there was no real genius thing about this. It's just by chance having these larger houses. And to be fair, I pride on wanting to buy larger houses because I feel like there's opportunity to do more, there's scope to do more. So again, having a team that are very solution oriented and knowing that you can drop the ceilings to get the head height you need, and kind of saying it's not a problem. All we have to do is obviously potential extra costs to have to redo each floor, but it's not a problem. So again, having a team that is our problem solvers, or you yourself being a problem solver in essence, and being very directional when it comes to solving problems and empowering your team to kind of come up with solutions. So I don't necessarily come up with the solutions to the problems. I'm always kind of empowering my team. What would you guys do in this situation? What are the options available? And this is what I'm in effect paying them for. I wanted to be able to come up and say, this is option A, this is option B, this is option C. I think we can do option C based on the cost and the timing and material. We can get this very quickly and turn it around. So that's probably the best one we can go for. And that empowers them. I've gone with what they wanted to do in essence, which again, there's an element of trust in this relationship to kind of empower them to go ahead and go away and deliver on this. That's the principle I run in my business. Another thing is being a people person. Massive thing you need in the space of property investment. Property investment is all about networking, who you know, your network. So you've got to put yourself in those positions to be able to build relationships, whether it's agents, whether it's build teams, whether it's solicitors, brokers, to be a likable person, people want to work with you. So that's one thing. Another thing, strong mindset, again, just to handle all the hurdles you have to jump through in terms of delays, material costs going up. It can be very like, if you haven't worked on your mindset and aren't of a place where you believe you can overcome the problems that you keep seeing, you can very quickly say, this is not for me. It's too much hard work, because this takes, generally speaking, a HMO project will take anywhere from 4 to 4, let's call it 4 months of conversion, just conversion alone. Not to talk about your purchase duration, which is about another 2 months, and then getting it rented out. So you're looking at 7 months before you potentially see a single income from this property. Whereas all this time, a lot of money is coming in your pocket to kind of get to that end goal, which is obviously rewarding, but it's a patient wait. And obviously 7 months is a long time in terms of what can happen. So you just got to be prepared, have exit strategies. So mindset is massive. Can-do attitude is the same pretty much. You've got to have that mentality to be able to keep moving forward. Creative thinker, that helps when trying to overcome problems, finding solutions. Again, team management is important from the point of view of, I don't want to obviously be in the business. I want to kind of manage the team and make sure things are run as the way I'd like. So again, being able to manage people, get the best out of them, obviously then as a result gives you the end product you need. So being able to manage people is a massive skill you need to have as part of investing in property. So yeah, I believe this is the closing point. On the last slide, I've got my details on here. So feel free to connect with me on Instagram, mainly is where I'm active on, or LinkedIn. It's my name, Alfred Dzadey. I've got my email address on there as well. If you've got any emails, if you've got any questions, or one thing I do want to highlight as well. So I've currently got 2 projects that I'm looking at funding. So anybody that's interested, who's got funds sat around, not necessarily using the funds, and is looking for a return on their money rather than leaving the bank, feel free to send me a message on my Instagram, on email. I also have a YouTube channel showcasing all my projects, kind of the walkthroughs from start to finish, literally from acquiring it, what it looks like, to it being ripped out, to it then being fully dressed, ready to let. But yeah, LinkedIn, Facebook, feel free to connect. Those are my details. Guys, I shall pass it back to you guys.